Hey everyone, I'm Dana from Love Oz YA, and I'm here with Maiya Ibrahim talking about her debut novel, The Spice Road. Hi Maya, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you going?
Good, good, good. Now, for those people who haven't read The Spice Road yet, can you tell us what it's all about?
Yeah, so Spice Road is it's a young adult epic fantasy. It's set in an Arabian-inspired land, and it basically follows a 17-year-old named Amani who is a warrior for her people, and she basically uses tea magic to defend her people from the monsters that lurk in the sands. But then she has to fight to find her missing older brother after she discovers that his betrayal might be threatening the safety of her people. I won't say what the betrayal is because you just have to read to find out, I
Yeah.
guess.
People will have to read to find out. Yes. Now yeah, it's a fantastic. I'm glad you used the word epic because I think it is really epic, and there's a lot. It's a really rich world that you've built with a huge range of different monsters and the magic as well. The and Mizra, which I was picturing it is like a cinnamon style tea. Is that
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
was in your mind too?
Um, yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, they grind it down. It would be
Mm,
like a cinnamon. Yeah, I pictured it as cinnamon, but then they grind it down and it's like
yeah.
a powder that they steep. But yeah,
Yes.
cinnamon was what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh yeah, cinnamon starts out as a bark and then you grind it
Yeah.
down and you get it really into a powder form. So and I was thinking, giant. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
beautiful. I
yeah,
love
that's
that.
exactly it. Yeah.
And it kind of gives them access to their affinities. And Amani, everyone seemed to have a different affinity. Amani's is with iron,
Mhm.
where she can change her sword into many different things. And that was the
Yep.
question I had was what affinity would you like to have if you could have one?
I actually find this question really difficult. Because I think I'm often like in this world or in her world. I think her magic is really cool, which is obviously why I kind of gave it to her because I thought it was awesome to play around with. I think maybe I really enjoy gardening, so I feel like I would probably get maybe a plant affinity.
Hmm.
Um, that would probably just like come to me naturally. So I think that'd be pretty cool. Kind of
I
like
think that would be awesome too, to
that
keep your
I
plants
wouldn't have to
alive.
worry. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I
And you
haven't
could
watered that.
do,
I can just
yeah, exactly. And you could do some very cool stuff with like vines and stuff in battle, I'm sure, like
yes,
wrapping
yeah,
people up and that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, it could be quite a good battle magic, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
the interesting thing is I get to, in the sequel, I get to explore the magic system a bit more and kind of
yeah.
branch out, I guess, forgive the pun. So yeah.
Excellent. And so that was going to be one of my questions was yeah, how many books are you planning? Is it a duology, a trilogy, or just however many will get published?
Um, at this point, it's a trilogy.
Hmm.
I don't know if that will ever expand. But at this point, we're set on a trilogy. And yeah, I'm already having kind of it's a lot of work already, so I
Yeah.
I don't want to say, oh, I want to do a series, but we'll see
No.
what happens.
Yeah, okay. So at this point, trilogy.
Trilogy.
Excellent. All right, cool. And are there like set dates or as in others are
Um,
written and they're just being edited and that sort of stuff, or you're not allowed to say? I never know what I'm allowed to ask with sort of publishing
that's
contracts and
okay.
things like that.
So I'm currently working on the sequel, so the second book, the trilogy, and it's meant to be on a yearly publication schedule.
Yeah.
So at this point, I can tentatively say it should be coming out in the first half of next year. But
Great.
publishing can be mysterious, so
Yay.
but we'll see. That's the plan, and it should be like a yearly thing thereafter as well.
Exciting. So we've got something to look forward to. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now, the other question I wanted to ask you was just about sources of inspiration because it is such a big world. And I had also read that you're big into gaming and things like that. So how did you get the idea? What came first? Was it the world or the people or?
I would say it's probably the world. I always knew that I wanted to write an Arabian inspired fantasy with a female protagonist. That was just something that I had already had in mind, but I didn't have like a plot or anything. And I think the biggest inspiration for the story was I was just reading historical accounts of the spice trade and Arab spice traders who had a monopoly on that. And basically, they would tell people that the spices that they were selling, they grew in very remote places. They grew in places that were guarded by fearsome monsters and mythical creatures. And they obviously did this to protect their business because it was very lucrative and they wanted to maintain their monopoly. And so they kind of wanted to get people to not get involved in the spice trade as well.
Not grow their own.
That's right. Not go seeking, where they can get it for themselves. But so that kind of got me thinking. That was the initial inspiration, I guess, for the world, this imagining this kind of remote, isolated world, land where there are monsters that freely roam. And I also began associating the idea of spice with magic. And so then came this concept of, what if there was a spice that grew in this place and that spice was magical? If you ingested it, it gave you magical powers. And so that was really the beginning, and everything kind of sprung up from around that, because I just think it's such a source of conflict to have something like a resource like that that's so powerful. And it just made me think about, well, what would the nation or the country or the kingdom that has that spice, what would they do with it? How would they react? They would fiercely protect it, they would fiercely guard it from everyone else. And then conversely, what would other nations do if they found out about this magic spice, and to what extent would they go to get it for themselves? And so that kind of like naturally fed into this theme of colonialism that's explored in the book as well. And that was something that I wanted to look at as well, but I didn't know how to kind of weave it in. So that, I would say, that was really the beginning. So I guess the world and the magic system came first, and then the characters kind of sprung up in there.
That makes a lot of sense, because there is a lot of themes around colonialism in here. And I thought that was really fascinating to just see, and a lot of questions around right and wrong and what you should do with your own personal power. Should you help? Who should you help? Should you just help the people you know versus the people you don't know? There's a lot of exploring of those themes, which I thought was really, really interesting. And they're obviously really tricky questions that all of us have to grapple with as well in our lives, not just in fantasy novels.
Yeah, I thought, they are very big questions, but I think fantasy is such a great vehicle for exploring those sort of things, because fantasy itself is so expansive. And it's interesting because we often read fantasy as it's escapist, it's to get away from things, but I think it's really easy to draw parallels using the genre. So I think it kind of, just goes hand in hand, I think. And I think as well, young adult fantasy and young adult fiction in general is really, the audience is really open to exploring complex themes and grappling with these kind of issues, which I think is one of the amazing things about young adult fantasy, especially.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of the awesome things about it. And now this is your debut novel, and I did see that it's got a US cover, so it's been sent over to the US, which is exciting. Can you tell us more about that process? I guess sometimes people want to understand, like, what was that process of getting, your Australian publisher and then like an American one, or did you actually go to the US first?
I actually went to the US first. I had no idea how to kind of go about publishing within Australia. And I don't know why. I made a lot of friends through Twitter in the US who were also trying to get published. And I sort of I don't know, I guess I just fell into that, into like, I guess that region first. So I got an American agent through a Twitter pitch contest. And so, and then we sold the trilogy first to Delacorte Press, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House in the US. And then I think it was only maybe 18 months ago now that we actually sold the Commonwealth rights. So for the UK, New Zealand, Australia, And that was really exciting for me because for a while I didn't actually know if my book would be published in my own country. So it's really exciting now to be able to go to like Big W and just see the book on the shelf. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of pursuing I guess like rights internationally. So there is going to be a couple of translations so far, which is really exciting. I know, so it's going to be translated into Turkish, Russian, German, and Bulgarian, I think, at this stage. So
Wow.
very exciting. Yeah, really,
Wow.
really a dream to have it, not just to have it in other countries, but to have it translated into other countries' languages is really amazing.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Well done.
Yes, yeah.
The
I'm
power
very
of Twitter,
excited.
hey?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just
It's
really turned publishing on its head and
yeah,
opened up accessibility.
I think as well, it's yeah, accessibility I think is the huge thing. It's just allowed and that pitching contest in particular was for underrepresented voices, marginalized writers, um and I think it's just an excellent medium because everyone can kind of log on to Twitter and just share it and get eyes on it. There's a very low barrier to entry, which I think is really important. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And I guess my final question was really what you hope the readers will take away from Spice Road.
I think ultimately, overall, I obviously I want readers to have a great time reading it. Enjoy the adventure, the lots of twists and turns. And I think in terms of thematically, this kind of exploration of what is truth and what is our human responsibility to help others. And I guess if readers can maybe have a chance to like reflect on their own experiences with, truth and privilege and, our duty to others, that would make me very happy as an author. But ultimately, I like it when people engage with books, whether they enjoy a book or they dislike it. But if it kind of gets them thinking and gets them, interested and I think that, yeah, that's my ultimate goal. Makes me very happy.
Yeah, fantastic. I think they definitely will. And I know I'll be looking out for next year for the
Yep.
sequel. So thank you very much, Maya. This has been really, thank you for the book and thank you for the chat this morning. It's been really enjoyable.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.